What's up, everybody? It's Alex from Heavy New York. We are back at the St. Vitus basement, and today we are here with Derrick of Tomb Mold. Thank you for your time today, man.
Thanks, man.
Yeah, it's so awesome to have you here. Planetary Clairvoyance came out just this past Friday. Do you just want to give a rundown on how the making of this record was?
Sure. So this record comes out basically within a year of our last LP, Manner of Infinite Forms. Recorded at the same studio, mixed and mastered by the same producer as the last one. That's Arthur Rizek. We record outside of Toronto in this awesome studio called Boxcar. The engineer there, Sean, is amazing. So we just like going there because it's very familiar to us. Same label, $20 spin.
They're awesome.
They're amazing label, and yeah, it's been good. This is the last day of our tour with Superstition. We're also on $20 spin. We also put out their first record on that label.
Yep.
And it's been crazy.
I could imagine. Being that it was such a short time between Manner of Infinite Forms and this one, is this like considered to be just like a direct? Do you consider this a direct follow-up to Manner of Infinite Forms, or do you think that this new record in a way kind of stands out and you want to do something different?
It's its own separate entity, at least for us. If people think that it's somehow connected to Manner, well, like they're wrong. But that's okay. We weren't gonna put out another LP immediately after, like we did, but we kind of wrote too much music. And I write in these bursts, so I can't, I wrote the album in a couple weeks, and then we kind of pieced it all together after. But the idea of maybe only taking half of those songs and putting it on one thing and saving those other half, that just doesn't compute in my brain. Has to be all one thing.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Is it fair to say you kind of like to feel the same way when you finish a record as you do when you started, kind of?
Pretty much. I would rather write all the songs in a month span, let's say, than try to write some of it and then wait a few months and write more. I feel like it just won't be as cohesive. Mm-hmm. You get in this style of writing, so just let everything come out, and then once you're out of gas, so to speak, then just that's it. That's what you got. So maybe that's an LP, maybe that's an EP. Who knows?
Yeah. Well, it's funny because as an artist myself, if I've got something done quick, I get criticized. Even if it's the perfect thing, they say, "Oh, it's too short of a time." Don't tell people you got this done in such a quick time or anything like that. Were you at all maybe a little worried that maybe somebody would say, "Oh, it's rushed" or anything like that? Or
no, I mean I didn't feel like it was rushed. I mean we definitely we grinded it out for sure, but I don't think it was rushed at all. I think we feel better about this record than Manor. And we had more time for Manor, but I don't know, we just don't like sitting on things. So before this record, in between Manor and this LP, we put out a 2-song tape, which were demo versions of a couple songs that ended up on the LP. And that's just sort of how we like to do it. We just like putting out tapes and records. Mm-hmm. So if we've got it, we'll do it.
Absolutely. What's funny is you mentioned that you work in bursts, it kind of comes out of the blue or something like that. But Is there ever, obviously the writing process is very organic that way, but is there any sort of preconceived idea or certain formula that you do follow when writing, or does everything have its own approach?
It kind of just happens naturally. I mean, in regards to aesthetic, maybe lyrical content, Max, who does drums and vocals, and I will have a conversation about that. What do we want this record to be? But when it comes to the actual music writing process, it's sort of just, I don't know, whatever comes to mind. I just sort of let it happen. But yeah, no, I never really go into something being okay, well, we didn't do this on Manor, so we have to do it on this record.
Okay.
Maybe what happens though is that after playing our older songs so much, it's just well, what's something that I wish was in our set or a song in particular, and then maybe I'll think about that and apply it to a song down the road. But it's never okay, I need to sit down and write something that is X, Y, and Z. Because if you do that, then whatever you come up with is probably going to be forced and probably sound artificial.
Yeah, it's going to sound very disappointing. Does it, though, ever change? Does a song maybe, end completely differently than the idea you had when you first started?
Oh, 100%. And that, a lot of that, too, is up to Max. I can write a song and think of how it will go in my mind, but then what he'll play on drums will be completely different. And it's always better. I'm not going to dictate what he plays, because whatever he comes up with is going to be infinitely better than anything I would suggest. I don't play drums. Mm-hmm. So he knows it. So I might write a song where I think that it's going to be more mid-pace, and then it's the fastest thing that we've got. Mm-hmm. I'm just all right, well, there we go.
There you go.
Yeah.
I just started asking this question. When it comes to writing songs, I mean, being able to write is a completely separate, I would say, talent and strategy than just being able to play. It's a completely... Do you write easier a little bit when you're alone and kind of like in your own sort of comfort zone, or do maybe things kind of fall into place a little bit easier when you have the rest of the band with you?
Better on my own. Yeah, like all the songs are written kind of just like on my own, and then I like will make these videos, upload them to Dropbox, so the other guys can see it. They'll process this like just weird garbly gook of like riffs, and then they'll take that and start to kind of learn it, but it doesn't really come into focus until the drums are there. But I couldn't. So the idea of showing up to practice and being like, well, let's write a song, just doesn't make sense to me. It's just too, I don't know. I like having things prepared, I guess.
Yeah, and you could possibly have like the greatest riff in mind, and before you even get to like the second note of it, everyone could say nope, and then you trash something that could have potentially led to something great.
For sure, and usually by the point that we start learning a song, it's gone through a sort of screening process on my own end. So I might just record every riff I come up with, but the ones that stick in my head are the ones that usually end up on the record. Anything that I kind of forget just goes in the garbage usually.
You worried that anything you ever throw in the garbage can end up on like a B-side record or just be the biggest hit you guys ever had?
No, not really. If it maybe it's something where this riff is cool, but it doesn't fit in anything right now. But maybe it will down the road. But barely do I hang on to stuff. Usually just find a home for it. I don't get too worried about that.
Yeah. I've noticed with this record too, and this is my favorite question to ask every artist I interview, but like you have some songs that are like 6.5 minutes, almost 7 minutes long, and you have like a song that's maybe like 5 minutes or something. At what point, how do you know when a song is done and you don't need to work on it anymore?
I don't know. It's definitely case by case. I think it more so if I'm writing a song and let's say it's like 3.5, 4 minutes, and whatever riff I end on feels like the riff it should end on, then it's done. If it feels unfinished, I might just like leave it for a bit and then start just playing other stuff, and then maybe I come up with a riff where we could put that there, move this there, or use this as an ending riff. And then sometimes what I think might be the riff to end a song might just actually be the riff to start a whole other song. Mm-hmm. So it really is like it's just a feel thing, I think.
Because it's not like you have a traditional like verse, chorus,
solo. It's just like
chorus.
Riff 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and then
to 11.
And and then done. Yeah.
Yeah. And I have 2 more questions
Sure.
for you, because we just talked about like the songwriting process and how, but then it comes to a matter of executing this material live. Do you try to make the live presence maybe a little bit different, like add or take away things in order to make the live experience different than what people would get on the record, or do you just try to execute the material note for note exactly how people hear it?
We try to keep it. We play it as it is on record, but I think live it's just way more intense. Usually faster too, but not by a crazy degree. But we try to provide. See, the thing is I really like when I know a song really well and I go see a band play it and like they just pull it off. Like I don't want it to be sterile, but like it's like I love a lot of solos from like early Suffocation records, and then seeing Terrence Hobbs just pull them out live like perfectly is like, oh, that's amazing.
That's insane.
Yeah, like it's just so good. It's so tight, but it doesn't feel like they're just playing the song off the record. There's a lot more energy there, right? Like I think that's the live component I like. It's just the energy behind it. It's just way more intense live.
Yeah.
But I want it to still be the song that we wrote.
Yeah. I saw Deicide for the first time ever just a couple months ago.
Oh, yeah.
And like they nailed, and I don't even think it's the original guitar player in that band anymore when the song wrote, but the Homage for Satan solo, which I think is the best solo in death metal history.
It's a good one.
But like you could tell that they were executing it note for note, but it's still, because you're hearing it live and on your headphones, it's a different experience one way or another.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the final question I want to ask you is, and I ask all of the Canadian artists I interview this, because coming from Toronto, I've interviewed Archspire, I've interviewed Angel Maker, I've interviewed Threat Signal, Anvil, all these bands. But Toronto specifically, is there like a metal scene in Toronto that you guys are affiliated with, or do you prefer to go outside your hometown and your own city to get your name out there?
We're more tied into the punk scene, I'd say, than anything. And that I think that's just a scene that we've all like connected with the most, scene we've liked the most, because like we're all DIY guys at heart, so we've just always enjoyed just going to punk shows and liking metal, interacting with metal. But all the metal people that we know or that we hang out with in Toronto are kind of the same mind. punk and our side of metal just sort of blend into one in Toronto, which is to me more fun, a lot more energy, a lot more youth involved as well, which is good because they need to keep writing music for when older people stop.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I never understood, like, I've heard that for a while, like, punk fans and metal fans, like, I don't want to say hated each other, that's a strong word,
Yeah.
but, like, didn't coincide. And I was just like, why? They're both very loud, in-your-face, raw, aggressive forms of music. Like,
Yeah, they're both like, they both serve to, like, alienate. Like, I mean, we got into this for some reason. And it was usually because we didn't like anybody. Like, we didn't like what was being offered, so we found something different. Like, and I don't understand why anyone would, like, I mean, we're all freaks and losers at the end of the day. I don't know why we would not be just, like, all down with each other.
Yeah, like, I heard, like, if you were, like, at an agnostic front show and somebody wore, like, an Iron Maiden shirt,
Oh,
like,
sure.
like, all bets would be off.
Yeah, and maybe that's just comes from when you have something, especially, like, when agnostic front were first doing stuff, like punk and hardcore in that sense was still very new, and you covet it, and you're probably just so scared of anybody that might be an outsider because it's this pure thing, right? And you want
Yeah.
to keep it pure. But I think now, I think you can find that purity in punk, metal, whatever, like avant-garde music, jazz music, like even some pop music. Like, it can be weird, and it's totally chill.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would say if you're listening to Kanye West at a death metal show, you are the biggest outsider, and you're more metal than... No, I'm kidding.
But I mean, like, I mean, kind of, though. Just like what you like. It'll be fine.
Exactly. So before we go, I'd like to thank you so much for your time today.
Yeah, thanks, man.
Yeah, is there just anything else with the Planetary Clairvoyance record cycle that you would like to promote in terms of tours or new music?
Well, we'll be at Psycho Las Vegas in August. We're gonna play a couple shows right after that with Rotting Christ in LA and San Diego, and then we're gonna do another show in Oakland, and then we'll be overseas in Europe for September.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Derrick.
Thanks, man.
Everybody, Derrick of Tomb Mold, Planetary Clairvoyance, out on $20 spin. Pick that up if you haven't already. This is Alex from Heavy New York, and we'll see you next time.